Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen? Today we're going to be reviewing the Amazing Spider-Man number 40. We're going to be going through the entirety of the comic book, so spoiler warning ahead if you haven't read the issue yourself, and at the end I will be giving my thoughts and opinions on it, so do stay tuned for that. Also, if you're enjoying this video at any point, make sure to like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's jump right into this comic. We begin the story with the Rose as he's getting ready to join in on all this chaos in New York, in the hopes of trying to claim a bigger portion of the territory for himself, as in the beginning of the story you're given this map that shows what gang leaders are in control of what portion of the New York territory, and it looks like the Rose is claiming a very small portion of it. So this is his big shot. While all of that is going down with the Rose, we move over to what Spider-Man is doing. Spider-Man now recently has teamed up with the She-Hulk for the past 3 issues, and now Tombstone has also joined the team with them. The Spidey team, now composed of these 3 characters, ambushes the Tracksuit Mafia, who are currently trying to also ambush the Inner Demons in their own warehouse. A lot of ambushing going on there. Before Tombstone engages with the Tracksuit Mafia, he cracks a joke about them getting all dressed up for this whole event, and then She-Hulk and Spider-Man come in. She-Hulk is holding Spider-Man as if she's about to throw him, which she is about to do. She throws him at a gang of the Tracksuit Mafia to engage in, the fight. But before the She-Hulk throws Spider-Man, Spider-Man also cracks the same joke that Tombstone said, about getting all dressed up and everything, which the She-Hulk does point that out, and in the process undermining Spider-Man's joke, of course, since he showed up late. While they all engage in the fight, Tombstone and Spider-Man are having a measuring contest over their fighting skills, and She-Hulk claims that she's gonna finish the fight quick so she doesn't have to listen to these guys talk. Once the fight ends, Spider-Man wants to chase the Inner Demons because they managed to get away during the ruckus with the Tracksuit Mafia, but Tombstone claims that it would be a waste of time, and he goes on a very brief explanation saying that they're gonna be making a move on Lady Yolande's vampires, so that's gonna cause chaos and is gonna be a waste of time. Somehow that manages to convince She-Hulk, claiming that he knows what every crime lord's move is gonna be in the city. Then we change our sights over to what Madame Mask is doing during all this chaos, and we get revealed that Hammerhead is still alive. They're in the same exact position we left him off last time. Hammerhead is just on the ground. Madame Mask begins flexing her superiority in the situation to Hammerhead, and while she's distracted with that, Hammerhead starts pulling at something out of his pocket, and it looks to be a weapon at first. Madame Mask does notice Hammerhead's movement and puts a stop to it by stomping on him, causing the object that he was reaching for to fall out, which ended up revealing to be a phone. Upon seeing the phone pull out, Madame Mask tells Hammerhead to call all of his goons. That's right, get everyone at her location, cause she's got something planned. Then we change our sights over to Harlem, where we accompany the Beetle after recently acquiring the title of Crime Lord from her father Tombstone. With that title, she gets all of her father's territory. The Beetle and her crew are plotting their next move, and it looks like they have their sights set up on Diamondback's territory. They claim in order to make a really big impact, they have to bring as much firepower as they can. White Rabbit asks, okay boss, how are we gonna do that? So the Beetle claims that they're gonna bring fear into Diamondback's men, because they're incredibly loyal, and in order to have them back down, they really have to instill the fear of God into them. So being issue 40, here we get a reveal of a brand new costume for this character, the Beetle. Its intention is definitely to instill fear, so instead of the usual lighthearted aesthetic for the Beetle that we usually get, this one is supposed to be terrifying because now that the Beetle's the crime lord, she has to instill fear on anyone she goes after, so everyone knows to take her seriously as they did with her father. Upon revealing said costume, the Beetle asks White Rabbit, "How do I look?" And White Rabbit says, "Like you mean business." Then we change our sights over to Tombstone's penthouse, where Spider-Man, She-Hulk, and Tombstone himself are hanging out. Tombstone is pulling up 2 whiskey drinks, one for She-Hulk and one for himself, leaving Spider-Man out because he's not drinking alcohol. And Tombstone explains how Fisk is back in town. Spider-Man gets confused and he starts questioning the Rose. Then what are we doing here? Questioning why they're just doing nothing, having a drink. She-Hulk also seems like she's not worried about anything. She willingly accepts Tombstone's drink. While Spider-Man is incredibly worried because he doesn't want to get used for protection like he did previously back in issue 4 for Tombstone when he tricked him into fighting the Rose and his gang. To reassure Spider-Man, Tombstone takes a sip of his whiskey and then starts explaining to Spider-Man what he has given up that night. Tombstone explains that now that he has been seen teaming up with Spider-Man and She-Hulk, no crime lord is going to want to do any deals with him, so there's not going to be a territory to go back to. But personally, I noticed myself that he doesn't explain also that he gave up his own territory to his daughter. He only says that he was spotted fighting crime with Spider-Man and She-Hulk, and that's the crime lord's quote-unquote reason on why he's not going to be doing any deals with him in the future. But we'll save my thoughts for last. She-Hulk questions what their next move is, takes a sip of the whiskey, and then compliments Tombstone on the drink itself. Tombstone explains that he wants to stop the fighting before his daughter ends up getting hurt, and their next move is to wait for Fisk to show up. Spider-Man questions how long they're going to be waiting. Tombstone barely glances at Spider-Man and tells him until Fisk gets there. Leaving the Spidey gang to wait there, we move our sights over to what Madam Mask is doing, as after Hammerhead calling all of his men to show up at their location, they all gather up on the first floor right outside of the building, where Madam Mask is confronting them. All of Hammerhead's men demand the release of Hammerhead. Madam Mask then reveals her upper hand in this situation by snapping her fingers, having Shotgun come out, revealing that Shotgun has Count Nefaria and Silvermane, and they're both unconscious. Well, Silvermane is just a head. Shotgun is just holding him by the little wires that are just sticking out from the bottom of his head. So he's just dangling there by a head. While Count Nefaria is just they're knocked out. Shotgun then throws them down to land right next to Madam Mask, giving her the ability to pick up Silvermane's head and dangle it over Hammerhead's men, as she demands Silvermane's gang to now follow her, effectively transferring whatever power and territory they had right over to her. Then we change our story's location over to Sugar Hill, where the Beetle's making a move on Diamondback's territory. The Beetle and her crew cause a huge ruckus. They storm in there. After she makes her move on the territory, she claims to the men that they have a new boss now. But one of the guys that's conscious tells the Beetle that they apologize, they can't do that because he got here first. Now they have the Beetle wondering who is he that this guy is referring to. So the goon reveals that it's Fisk, causing the Beetle to storm into the office, revealing that it's the Rose who have now taken over Diamondback's territory. But who knows for how long the Rose is going to be able to uphold that territory, because you guys know the Beetle showed up with her gang trying to claim Diamondback's territory, only to realize that the Rose has taken over. So we'll see how this interaction results in the next issue, because that's where that gets left off. The final part of the story goes back to where the Spider Gang is hanging out. Just to remind you, they're just hanging out waiting for Fisk at Tombstone's penthouse, and they hear a buzz for someone trying to get into Tombstone's apartment. Upon hearing the buzz, Tombstone claims that he's here, referring to Fisk. As Tombstone's walking to get the door, Spider-Man's explaining to She-Hulk that last time the Rose got pretty beat. She-Hulk questions by who? Spider-Man after a second answers, me. Tombstone opens the door and Spider-Man points out saying, that's not the Rose. And Tombstone explains, never said it was, revealing now that they're working with the Kingpin and his girlfriend and they have their own army. And we're left off on a to be continued, ladies and gentlemen. So what do we think about the comic book itself? Well, I think it's pretty average progression into the story itself. Nothing particularly special about the issue. They do have the costume reveal for the Beetle. I personally think it looks goofy. It might just be the art style. It might just take a different artist to really take on what the Beetle now looks like, as she takes on the role as the new crime lord over her father, Tombstone, who now has teamed up with Spider-Man and She-Hulk, as he basically takes the lead in the team. So far for this specific storyline, I personally prefer issue 39. That one had pretty fun action and character interactions. This one sort of felt like they kicked Spider-Man aside to try to make Tombstone look cool. Obvious example being when they showed up to ambush the Tracksuit Mafia, Tombstone ended up cracking the joke first as if he's Spider-Man himself. Why is he cracking jokes? Dude, show up and just intimidate these guys and beat them down like you do? Why are you joking around? And of course, Spider-Man shows up and cracks the same exact joke, only to have it be undermined. Not to mention in that same exact fight, after the inner demons ended up escaping and the Tracksuit Mafia got defeated, they scrambled, there's nothing left of them to recuperate. Spider-Man wants to go after the inner demons, but Tombstone says, no, we won't. Spider-Man's like, what? Why not? Tombstone's like, because we're not going to do that. And then Tombstone goes off to explain how the inner demons are going to be making a move on Lady Yolande's vampires, causing them to overrun downtown, and it's just going to be a big waste of time. They have Spider-Man legitimately pondering at this plan, and She-Hulk is instantly convinced by Tombstone's explanation. Alright, maybe we do get to a point where Tombstone is right, and this entire fight ends up ending fairly quickly, and there's no more chaos happening in New York. But Tombstone says that going to chase the inner demons is a waste of time, indirectly saying that going to actually go fight the crime itself, the same thing that they were doing in the previous issue 39, is a waste of time. Like, they were able to stop, Crime Master and the guy with the spinny hat that manipulates people, freaking forgot his name. They were able to do it there, but now all of a sudden it's a waste of time and She-Hulk is automatically convinced in Tombstone's plan. What did grab my attention about the story, mainly about how the story is being told. So at the very beginning of the story, the Rose is just getting ready to join all this chaos, and he has a very small portion of the New York territory. And later in the story, right before the Beetle takes on Diamondback's territory, they explain that in order to make a really big impact on Diamondback, they gotta bring all the firepower that they have. Basically instill fear on these guys. So then you get to the very end part of the story where the Beetle is trying to make a move on Diamondback's territory, only to reveal that the Rose has taken over already. But my main point is, the Rose managed to take over Diamondback's territory. He managed to bring in all the firepower that he had. He managed to instill fear on these guys. It leaves me wondering, what is the Rose packing in this story? Like, what's his play in this story? The Rose is instantly the most interesting character in this comic, and he was barely in it. The story progression with Madame Mask itself was pretty dull. It wasn't very interesting. It was mid. Sure, there was that big transfer of power, but it wasn't really told in a very interesting way, so we just get told that now she's very powerful, I guess. We'll just see what happens in the next issue. Those are my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you guys thought about the issue if you read it. I definitely want to know what everyone thinks on the Beatles costume, because I definitely think it looks incredibly goofy. But this is a Spider-Man universe where they prioritize a Rick Rep story arc, so we are dealing with Goofy here. Maybe a different artist would portray the Beetle looking more badass, but in this issue, the Beetle's first different costume appearance looks pretty goofy. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed this video at any point, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.